Hi friends, today I'm going to go over a list of all the supplies that I keep in my home as a professional indoor gardener. I like to be ready for any project at any given moment, so I probably have more on hand than is truly required, but if you too want to feel at the ready for anything indoor gardening, I got you covered. Starting off with the planting materials, I obviously keep soils on hand at all times, both tropical and cactus mixes. Lots of plants need different soil consistencies to grow their best, so I also keep a bunch of different soil amendments around to mess with my soil mixes, specifically pumice and perlite to increase airflow and drainage in the soil, fine orchid bark for soil texture, and charcoal for the cleanliness and texture of the soil. Some other planting materials I keep on hand are sphagnum moss for both propagation and water retention in the soil, as well as leca pebbles, which I use for alternative methods of growing, such as semi-hydroponics. Plant fertilizers are very important to keep around during the growing season in particular. I prefer slow release fertilizers because I can just put a couple of granules in my planters and not really think about it for the rest of the growing season, versus liquid fertilizers, which you'll have to remember to water into your plants like every 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how often they like to get fed. To keep my plants nice and hydrated, I have a watering can on hand, one that fits a lot of water inside since I have a lot of plants to go around and water, as well as a moisture meter to help take the guesswork out of knowing when it's time to water my plants. Moisture meters are particularly helpful for larger potted plants whose soils can sometimes be a little bit difficult to judge when it's time to water. And when you have lots of plants, or even just a few to be honest, pests are probably going to happen. So to be proactive, I keep a couple methods of pest control in my arsenal. The most important one that I use in my garden is houseplant systemic granules. This is essentially a pesticide, and because of that, it's not available in every area of the world, but it's available in mine, so I take advantage of that. I also keep Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew on hand. This is a spinosad spray. Spinosad is the same chemical that's in lice shampoo, for example, so it works wonders on spider mites in particular. I keep the concentrate of Captain Jack's on hand because it's a bigger bang for your buck and allows me to just have it on hand at all times, but they also sell it ready to go, already mixed up in spray bottles, but you're just gonna go through them pretty fast if you go for that option, so I would recommend the concentrate, but if the spray bottle is the only thing that is available to you, go for it. And of course, I keep a spray bottle on hand for mixing up my Captain Jacks and other homemade remedies that I like to make to treat my pests. I've talked about those in other videos, but those usually involve rubbing alcohol, natural dish soap, and water. Fungus gnats are technically a plant pest as well, so to combat those, I keep both yellow sticky traps and mosquito bits on hand. The yellow sticky traps are for getting rid of the adults that are currently flying around your home, while the mosquito bits are more of a preventative way to stop any of the eggs in your soil from hatching. So both products serve different purposes, and I would definitely recommend keeping both around if you do struggle with fungus gnats in your home. It's important to be ready to propagate your plants at any given moment, as accidents happen and you never know when a branch or vine might be broken off. So as well as the aforementioned planting materials, I also keep plastic nursery planters on hand, always recycled from previous plant purchases. Plastic planters from previous plant purchases, say that 5 times fast. As well as rooting hormone to help get those roots growing. And for those purposeful propagations, so many tongue twisters today, I keep a couple different pairs of pruning shears on hand. And a couple of decorative glass vessels are also pretty necessary for any time you want to propagate some plants in water. Speaking of decor, there are a bunch of decorative accessories and materials that I like to keep around. Planters and saucers are a given, as I love having options, so having a couple planters on hand that aren't in use makes me feel really good whenever I bring home a new plant. For terrariums, I like to keep some mosses on hand to use as top dressing for any of those that have some tropical inspiration, as well as sand for top dressing for those that are more depicting the desert. I also love some decorative stones and decorative pebbles, as well as a little paintbrush that I use to clean off any surfaces that get kind of messy in the terrarium making process. I'm always on the lookout for any glass vessels that can be used for terrarium building, as well as glass cloches that I can use to grow finicky plants inside. I like to make my own decorative plant hangers with the magic of macrame, so I keep a couple different types of rope on hand, particularly jute twine and white cotton rope. And for added effect, I keep a couple different colors of wooden beads around to add some extra character onto my plant hangers when needed. Furniture pads are a great way to prevent surface damage underneath planters and saucers, as well as cork trivets or cork coasters, or really any type of coaster for that matter, whatever floats your boat aesthetically. All an incredibly inexpensive way to help keep your security deposit. I also like stackable coconut coir moss poles for climbing plants. And for plants with really aggressive aerial roots or plants that just really love to climb, I make my own moss moss poles. I have a whole video tutorial on how to make those if you're curious, but to make them, I keep on hand sphagnum moss, wire garden mesh, as well as zip ties. And wire cutters make the process a lot easier too. Velcro plant tape is used to attach the plants to the moss pole, which will encourage those roots when they are in contact with the sphagnum moss to root inside, which will allow our plant to grow taller and taller, and of course allow those leaves to mature and grow even larger, which is what we want. It's the whole point of growing plants on a moss pole in the first place. Grow lights allow me to grow plants literally wherever I want in my home. It doesn't matter if there's not a window nearby. All of mine are from Soltech, and they have a bunch of different options to choose from that will work in practically any home setting. Vanda baskets are a slightly different way to grow and display any epiphytic houseplants that you grow in your home, such as Hoyas or orchids. And wire orchid hangers are an incredibly inexpensive way to turn a simple terracotta planter into a super stylish hanging planter. And they're literally so cheap. I only ever see them sold for like $1 or $2. They are worth pennies in comparison to like an artisanal macrame hanger. So if you are on a budget, they are a really wonderful way and underrated way to display hanging plants in your home. And for the truly miscellaneous items, S-hooks come in handy when you least expect, and tongs are a lifesaver whenever you are repotting any spiny plants, particularly cacti. You do not need to keep all of this stuff on hand to be a successful indoor gardener. I just wanted to share a list of everything I keep on hand in one video for you guys to use as a resource for things to consider. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you don't already, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at phillyfoliage. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already yet, please, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.